Hi, my name is William Michael Forbes. I'm a spiritual medium, a channel, and an intuitive life coach, and I want to welcome you to a morning message. I usually have somebody come through me to share their wisdom and knowledge, which is available to all of us. There are dynamic beings on many planes of consciousness that you can tap into at any time. But I thought I would just come forward and share a little bit about something I've been really focusing on comprehending and understanding that can literally free you from a lot of suffering. And it's about your past. We get so bound by letting what we've experienced define who we are now, and it doesn't have to. When I was a heavy drinker, when I used drugs, when I was involved in activities I shouldn't have been involved in, for many years, I let those behaviors, those ideas define who I was. And I spent a lot of time in self-imposed suffering, thinking I was bad, I wasn't good enough, I hurt people, I wasn't very kind. And you have to start getting outside of your past. At some point in your process, you have to start letting the past go. The only place you can find anything new in your life is right now. Right now. This is the moment that you're in, the moment you're breathing, the moment you're walking, the moment you're doing anything, in the moment is the only time anything new is occurring, and it's the only point in your life that you can actually create something new. So as long as I was focusing on I had a drinking problem and I was not a very nice person, I kept repeating that pattern for years. When I first ran into a person that said, have you ever thought that maybe you're loving and lovable? And when I first heard those words, I never thought that I was loving and lovable. I thought quite the opposite. I thought I was lower than a snake's belly in a wheel rut. And that wasn't the case. The moment I spoke those words, I am loving and lovable, the moment I spoke those words, they were in complete contrast to how I actually felt, thought, and believed about myself up to that point. I was around age 25, 26 when that happened, when that event happened, when a new thought was given to me about who and what I could be, which it was at that time, I am loving and lovable. And I remember for like days, I thought and contemplated that idea, I'm loving and lovable. I'd never considered, what does loving and lovable mean? And I began to really go through this huge shift at that point. I began to change what I ate. I began to read even more books on philosophy, theology, psychology, to try and understand this new state that was emerging inside me. And the common denominator to all that change was I had moved out of the past into a new present. I'd moved from the old thoughts, the old memories, the old feelings of my suffering as a child with my stepfather, my suffering as a child in poverty, my suffering as a child in an aggressive environment. When that shift hit my mind, where I realized that was not what defined me anymore, that freedom that I felt in that moment has propelled me forward in my life ever since, and it can do the same thing for you. Do not let your past define your present. It's a terrible thing to keep yourself imprisoned to something that's not true anymore. The past is done. You hear people say that, but to actually know that and then to live that, to say, okay, I might have been a drunkard then. I might have been a methamphetamine addict. I might have been a criminal. I might have been all those things. That's not who I am now. And you literally step out of that and you move into something new. And is it easy? No, not at first. It took some time for me to actually completely cease drinking. It took some time for me to actually cease doing the drugs. But every day I cut back, dropped it. And this new self emerged. I had to keep, literally, we all spend our lives, way too much of our lives, fighting to get out of our past. If you're really young, if you're like 17, 18, 19, 20, even 30, 35, 40 years old, you're really young. Like you can let go of your past far more easy than you realize. It's just not letting your mind go there. And it really does take practice. My guardian angel John tells me to stay in the present moment. Anytime I get off track, he'll come in and go, what are you doing now? And then I'll come back into the now. Literally, it's like that. Or I'll just breathe. You can breathe and bring yourself back into the present. I feel kind of naked today. And the reason I feel kind of naked today is because I usually have Archangel Michael or Master Jesus or Buddha having something to say through me. And today it's just me. It's a very different thing. But I wanted to come from this level, just so you understand that we are all these incredibly divine beings that are caught in these little containers called bodies, and these other containers called minds that really don't define who you truly are. When who you truly are is really meant to define the mind and body. Your environment, for many of us, our environment defined who we are. It told us when to sit, when to stand, when to eat, when to sleep. Johnny, go, Mary, do this, go to school. The environment trained us into an idea, a belief about who am I. And your name might be Mary or George or John or Shanitha or whatever it is, but the name and the experience that is attached to the name does not really represent fully who you are. Who you are can fully transform that so that you are represented the way that you truly are. What do I mean by that? I mean, basically, you're able to go into the present moment so deeply. You're able to catch those emotions, those old emotions that are angry and fearful, and drop them. Just say, no, I'm not going to let my fear, I'm not going to let my anger, I'm not going to let my depression, I'm not going to let my anxiety define who I am anymore. And a lot of people, what really happens, at least for me anyway, in the beginning when I first began to try and let go of my depression and my anxiety, because I was under psychiatric care for a number of years, and I'd see it and I'd try to get rid of it, I'd try pushing away, and I realized after a period of time it wasn't working. And the drugs weren't working and the prescriptions weren't working. So I finally thought, well, what if I just don't give them any attention anymore? What if I just stop paying attention to them? And I remember when I started to stop paying attention to my depression. All of a sudden, it was there. I could feel that sadness. I want my body to go down. I was alone. All those thoughts that come up with it. I said, wait a minute, I'm not going to give you any attention anymore. What am I going to give attention to? And then I'd go for a running or I'll go for a walk. I go and start giving attention to things that made me feel good. In my coaching practice, I had something I always give to clients where I'd say, take a little dollar store notepad, just a small notepad that'll slide in a shirt pocket or a jacket pocket. And when you're walking down the street, notice every single thing that makes you feel good, whether it's a leaf on a tree or an ant walking along the sidewalk or a bird flying overhead or the fresh breeze or snowflakes, whatever it is, make note and write these things down in the notepad. And the reason you want to write them down in the notepad is because you're giving them even more focus. You're giving things that make you feel good more focus. Because I'll tell you something, my depression and my anxiety was so severe, I tried suicide several times. Because I believed that what that was greater than who I am. It wasn't until a period of time where I began to actually do things and focus differently that began to drop away, that began to lose its grip on me. Now, there are other things involved too. You might need to change your diet, move away from caffeine, move away from processed foods, move away from things that aren't a living. Put more plant-based foods into your diet, more vegetables, live, living things in your body. Because there's a huge medical correlation between depression, anxiety, and diet. So you want to be mindful of that. Put more living food in your body. We already know that emotions, both negative and positive, can create acidity in the body. We also know it can raise and lower the body's energy level. So it's really important to understand that you want to change what your lifestyle is. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out, painful process. It can be a joyful, exciting one if you really get into it. And there's a threshold that you'll cross and I've watched this, I cannot tell you how many times I've watched this, where a person crosses a certain threshold where they say, no, I'm not going to be depressed anymore. I'm going to be joyful. And they literally start doing, thinking, saying, and being, and focusing on things differently. And it changes. Now that mental focus, coupled with a healthy diet and lots of water, stay away from caffeine. Caffeine is terrible. It really is. It's not good for you. It's an amphetamine. Water is the best thing you can substitute. For alcohol and caffeine, substitute water. The reason why your body craves so much caffeine is because you're not giving enough water. It's not hydrated, so it's trying to get the water from the caffeine, and then you get that artificial high, and now you got this association in your brain that says, oh, caffeine makes me feel good. No, it's not it's the caffeine that makes you, coffee doesn't make you feel good. The caffeine artificially stimulates your system. Whereas water doesn't do that. It naturally stimulates your system, and it conducts electricity better. But I wanted to just come on as little old me today and just to share my own personal experience of how that transition can be hard or can be easy depending on where you choose to put your attention. But it's a journey you need to start. If you're suffering, it's because you haven't started the journey, or something's trying to get you to start the journey. And suffering, is dependent in part on what you're focusing on a regular basis and what you're not focusing on a regular basis. Start focusing on things that really matter to you, that matter to you, like whether it's your art or music or dance or nature. Get your attention directed towards those things that give you joy in your heart, because that's where your healing begins to come into fruition. When you start to give focus and attention to things that really matter to you. Don't give attention to people don't get away from the people that are in their pain and suffering. You can't help people that want to suffer. They have to want to be, they have to want to change. Nobody's going to change themselves unless they want to. I cannot tell you how many times I've worked with people and I've had to say, sorry, I can't work with you. You're not prepared to put the effort in. And when you're ready to put the effort in, come call me. But it's important. It's really important that you begin to appreciate and respect yourself. Yeah, this is very different for me. Yeah, very different. When you try to find something out there to fulfill you, it will not work as what is within you. You are the creator of your life. You really are. You are the creator of what's going on within and around you. As you get into focusing on the things that really matter to you, you'll start to see things changing around you. Like your depression is just an energy called emotion, and it's a negative chemical energy called depression. Same with anxiety. It's a negative chemical emotion called anxiety. Well, joy is a positive chemical reaction. Bliss is a positive chemical, excitement, playfulness. And you can choose to identify with any of them. But watch, just try this one little thing. I'll say this last thing, I'll leave this with you. Whenever you find your depression coming up or your anxiety coming up or any of that stuff coming up, just decide no. Say, no, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to give something else attention. And you know what will happen at first? That depression, that anxiety is going to say, wait a minute. And your body will go, wait a minute. But we're supposed to be doing depression and anxiety. You go, no. You literally have to move your awareness away from it. Like literally start doing and being different than the depression or the anxiety. And of course the depression and anxiety, but we're supposed to be sad right now. We're supposed to be anxious right now. No, we're not going to do that right now. And it's literally like retraining your body and your mind, retraining them to be different than they've been trained to be up to this point in your life. And I'm sorry if this sounds like a bit of a rambling, but this is just, I just felt moved to share this today. Again, it's been very silent. I haven't had anybody buzzing around me today. And it's very rare that happens. So I wanted to just see what happens if I came out here and shared a little bit with you guys from a perspective of William. Much love to you all. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this. And also, if you're interested in learning how to actually channel and tap in and make some of these, tap in your life and make these changes that you want to make in your life, you can go to my website, williammichaelforbes.com, and you can check out our courses and classes there. You can also do some one-on-one work with me if you want. But don't wait. Don't suffer needlessly. There's a support system. There are so many support systems on this planet to help you. Reach out, and I promise you, you don't have to live in suffering anymore. I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, got it hanging on my wall. You want to get away from that. That's an old paradigm. We're not born to suffer. Nobody was born to suffer. That's the biggest lie on the planet. You weren't born to suffer. You were born to thrive. You were born to live. You were born to be your best you. And that's going to require some effort because the world may have taught you or trained you that something else is true. But you get to make your life up. You really do. And I would love to share that journey with you. Much love. Have yourself an awesome day. Bye for now.